Perhaps an old dog can learn new tricks. Seems like that is the case for Sharon Moore. We're going to see if that ends up being real. Let's talk about it on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to all of our everydayers who check out the show every single day. Thank you for making us your first listen as well. We have a couple different things we're going to get into. Number one, because we already did a show. We already did kind of the look back. So we're going to do a mixture of looking back and looking forward, but not quite in the same exact way. We didn't really do the looking forward to USC stuff in the car ride post game. So we'll do that in segment 3, where Michigan goes from here, essentially. But segments 1 and 2, I want to get into the wide receivers and the offensive line in particular, because there are a couple things that I feel like Sharon indicated might indicate some changes. So I'm excited to kind of see what this looks like from the comfort of my couch, since I'm, again, not going to USC, just letting you know. All right, so let's start off with wide receiver. So Sharon Moore said today that Andrew Marsh, who started last week, I didn't notice that straight away. You know, like they do have the announcements of who's starting. I kind of tune that out because there's just a lot happening. I'm taking pictures of recruits and things of that nature. But then, you know, you try to be good about like the first possessions, noticing like who's out there. I'll sit there and usually rattle off to whatever photographer's next to me. Like, all right, this person's out there, but it doesn't always work, right? Like I might be looking at the offensive line or whatever. But I did notice, obviously, during the game that Channing Goodwin was not out there very much compared to normal. And Andrew Marsh obviously started coming on in the first half. Well, Sharon Moore says he's earned another start. Is that 100%? He's earned another start. That said, don't expect it to be a full changing of the guard necessarily, because he said, like, you know, Channing's going to have those opportunities in practice. And obviously Channing had earned the starting role to begin with. But I think based off of the drops, right, Channing and Samaj were dropping the ball. And Samaj continues to play and you know, that's where I would kind of want to see, like, can Samaj and Channing Goodwin split some time? I mean, that could be a possibility. And I was going to say something else, but that's getting ahead of myself here. But I think that Andrew Marsh, 4 targets, 4 catches. Sweet. Right? Like, we haven't seen that all year, really. So that's a especially because not every catch that was, or ball that was thrown his way was like an easy catch. I mean, Bryce put it where it was supposed to go. That didn't make it mean that it was an easy catch. Like the one where he turned around and went up and got it down on the sideline, huge. That's exactly the type of play that you've been kind of waiting to see. Because I think I said this on Saturday on the drive home. It's at times it felt kind of disappointing to watch Wisconsin. Now, Jerome praised Wisconsin's receivers today, but it just felt like disappointing watching and kind of feeling like, man, if Michigan had Wisconsin's receivers, when was the last time that's been able to be said? Not that Michigan's had like any kind of crazy receiving core, like Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Ronnie Bell. I mean, that's a pretty good receiving core, but like that's not something that people are clamoring for. But just based off of what we've seen this year, it's certainly been something I would have clamored for. And I think any of you would, because you knew that those guys would get open. Cornelius had his own problems with the drops, but usually not on third down. It was like weird. It was like you could find yourself with a easy first down throw to Cornelius Johnson that hit him right in the hands. He wouldn't come down with it. But like crunch time, it's third down, got to have it. He's going to be right at the sticks with this and being able to reel in a ball that you're like, I don't know how he could do that, because he couldn't even bring in the easy one that was on first down when the pressure was off. So, interesting. But I think with Andrew Marsh, it's a good thing I'm not saying it's the most optimal thing, but it is a good thing to have because we're hearing more and more. Like I was listening to Sirius XM on the way to Ann Arbor, and I don't remember the guy's name, but they were talking about Florida's receiver. They were like, yeah, freshman receivers, that's a thing. Obviously last year, Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith. So yeah, do everything you can to put Andrew Marsh in a situation where he can be like one of those guys. Give him those opportunities over anyone else. Listen, he's going to have some drops. He's going to make some mistakes, almost assuredly. But considering what we've seen thus far and then what we saw in week 6 against Wisconsin, I love the idea that he's now a starter. And I think the place you can play around with is that slot position because McCauley, who is I think they said is the first receiver since 2023 to have a 100-yard game against Purdue. I'm guessing that was Roman Wilson, but I can't recall. But, just that's what you need to do. You need to have those two guys on the field. And then if you're going to have a 3, be in that 11 personnel, then you need to play around with that other role until someone cements it. Now, Samaj, I'm not going to hate on him the same way everyone else does. He did make a lot of plays. He's made plays all year. The problem is those plays that he's making, which aren't the most incredible plays necessarily. I mean, the touchdown against Central Michigan was nice. But they are overshadowed significantly by the plays he's not making. So have some of those other guys battle it out. And then, heck, you could move Marsh inside because Sharon Moore's talking about like Jamar Browder is going to have his opportunity in practice today. That can change the calculus of a lot of different stuff here, too. Getting Jamar Browder, another 6'5" guy whose limitation essentially is just youth, inexperience. That's from Sharon, right? He's still learning the playbook and stuff. And that's, you hope around now that he would know it. But still, I think that's get some of those guys going because the guys that have been around, not necessarily killing it. Don't waste Bryce. And you could see in the second half against Wisconsin when the passing game, when McCauley became a threat, when it became more than just Andrew Marsh, then suddenly those run lanes got open real quick. I mean, Justice Haynes did a lot of quick work early in the game as it was, but suddenly he was doing a lot better, as was Jordan Marshall when the receiving game started picking up. So I think that's important. Sharon said something else today that I thought was pivotal because it's something that we talked about the last 2 weeks, essentially. So let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level every single week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, let's continue on here. Excited for the game this week, even though I'm not going to be there. I'm getting kind of some FOMO. I canceled my flight. And it's one of those things, you do it. And, it's been kind of the plan since the Oklahoma game that I wasn't going to go to USC. So I canceled my flight, and now I'm sitting there being like, man, missing it. But I do feel like I can be more productive for you, the people, by not going. It's a long trip, and when Washington. Granted, I was sick at Washington, I got started, you're always sick. Yeah, around this time of year, I always am. It happens every year when the weather changes. But I, last year was a little bit longer. I was sick from like October through February with pneumonia. But at the same time, I didn't really do a heck of a lot. I don't recall writing at all after the game, or the day after the game. So that notwithstanding, I mean, it's a lot easier to write from home and to podcast from home than to go on the road. Now, the good news is, not to finish my little aside soliloquy, Sato, whatever, Selah, it will be, the podcast on the road will be a lot better and easier now that I've upgraded my computer situation. So we're running this show off of the main home computer, but the laptop situation drastically upgraded as of last week, which with that means that we have the processing power to handle the cameras and all of that stuff. So and usually these road shows have just been a disaster. Sometimes quality isn't as good because it's just if it was going to be as good, it would take literally 6 hours to produce. But now we're in a situation where it actually takes less time to produce a show on the new computer than it does the powerful iMac Pro that we've got here. So big changes afoot. All right. Now that we've gotten all of the administrative stuff out of the way, let's talk about the offensive line. Because Sharon said there was music to my ears at the press conference today. It was beautiful, sweet music. He said a lot of things that were really like, okay, like I was sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to write this and I'm going to write this and then I'll do the show. And then before I knew it, I wrote 5 articles because he just said so much today. Notwithstanding the Justice Haynes should be in the Heisman Trophy conversation. I've already blocked a Buckeye, a couple Buckeyes actually on Twitter who are laughing about that for whatever reason, as if his yards aren't right there. His yards are right there with Ahmad Hardy. I digress. One of the reasons why that's worked is not just Justice Haynes, but you're seeing a lot of good things from the offensive line. Now, this game, the tackles, not great. Both tackles had a bad game. Looking back, right? As I told you on the drive home Saturday, I don't get to see everything. I'm looking through a very limited lens here, right? Like a long lens, 300 millimeters. Kind of hard to necessarily see everything. So we give a look to some stuff once we get home. The interior was good, I thought. The exterior was not good. PFF grades bear that out. But that said, I think that the fact that Sharon said that, like, hey, Gio looks like he's going to be back this week. Probable, along with Hogan Hansen, and sounds like Brady Norton as well. But he said, like, yeah, but we're kind of did it in this kind of weird way. Where it's like, we're going to roll with what we've been rolling with. Which is kind of, it's not necessarily about face or reverse course from last week when he was talking about Giovanni El Hadi and said, like, well, he's a starter. He'll just be back when he's back. But he kind of had it where it's the guys who have been playing are going to play. Gio is a starter, so he will be back eventually. He's got to kind of re-earn it, though. And Brady Norton, who it kind of said like he's going to be challenging the guys over at the other guard spot. Listen, Jake Guarnera has been incredible in particular, as is Native Phobie, but Jake Guarnera in particular. And again, the PFF grades bear that out. Guarnera was just consistently very good this last week. Native Phobie has, in the last 3 weeks, been consistently very good. And the fact that last week we were talking about, like, yeah, these guys are going to come back and they're just going to be, they're the starters, so therefore they're going to continue to start. I just felt was like a massive issue. That felt like the stubbornness that we have come to know and expect of the Michigan football head coach, whether it's Sharon or Jim Harbaugh. And so I think it was a really, really good thing to see that Sharon Moore is like, yeah, they're going to have to, it's a competition. It's open, kind of same way he talks about the wide receivers. And it's like, yeah, the guys are going to have to earn it. Now, Gio, I know he didn't necessarily look like he was going crazy out there in this first 2 games, game and a half, whatever it was he played, but he did still grade out very well according to PFF. So they are more in agreement with Sharon than I think others are. So I do think that if he is healthy enough, he would be expected to play. But I love the idea that it's, okay, you're healthy enough, we're just going to plug you in and, do your best out there. That it's going to be a situation where it's like, hey, if Obi's killing it, you've got to be healthy and be able to kill it. I think that's important. Now, I think Giovanni El Hadi's been around long enough and he's good enough that he can be that guy, right? Like he's looked the part, and obviously it's a shame that you miss 3.5 games in your 5th year. That's not a great situation for you. So I do want to see him out there. I don't want to see like Sharon talked last week about rotation and on the offensive line. No, I don't like that at all. Like rotation's fine when you're like bringing in like a 6th guy like Blake Frazier, who, I mean, I thought I'd have to look at the PFF grades again. I didn't notice, but I felt like he did well when I saw him out there. So yeah, there's a lot to kind of consider and reconsider. And it kind of feels like that's where this team is at the moment, which is a good thing. They're not resting on their laurels, and that includes the coaching staff, who I think oftentimes, and we saw this a lot last year, were, the smartest men in the room. And, some of those guys aren't around anymore. But, I felt like maybe the Brady Norton starting over a Phobie or whoever, I guess Guarnera, that felt like a smartest man in the room type of decision. Channing Goodwin starting at wide receiver felt like a smartest man in the room decision. And now it feels like they're doing the smarter things and saying like, no, we've got to roll with what's working instead of on Saturdays. Let's note this because we don't see what happens during the week, but we got to go with what's working on Saturdays. And if you can come in during the week and look that good, look better than the other guy that has been doing it on Saturday, then maybe we change things up at some point here. But I like the willingness to change because that's extremely important, given that we've seen throughout the years times where guys just outplay other guys that you think are going to be the one who really does well, right? Like you look at the one that we've brought up multiple times in the last couple of weeks is David Ajabo over Taylor Upshaw, right? Like that Taylor Upshaw, elder statesman, finally getting his chance to start, but Ajabo comes in and like, what would it have been in 2021 if they were like, David, you're just going to have to wait your turn. It's Taylor's turn right now, right? He ended up being a 2nd round draft pick that should have been in the 1st had he not gotten injured on pro day. So the willingness to change is huge. To reevaluate and consistently reevaluate. That's everything that I hoped that they would be at this point. So that's good. All right, let's talk a bit about this matchup against USC. There's just a couple things rattling around in my brain. So I want to get to those things here in just a moment. But before we do, I need an assistant or another arm, really, by the way. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home, whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. You listen, Argus Farm Shop. I knew there were more than one location, but I couldn't remember where the other ones were. Because I knew of the one that was on Packard, because that was back kind of in my old neighborhood, Bryant Pattengale, or whatever it is called, when I was living over at Woodbury Gardens. Would walk Zuri by there all the time. It was always, it's kind of a cute little spot, little farm shop, But then I'm driving home from the game, and I just see maize and blue everywhere on this patio. And I'm like, what's this? And it's like, there's just people everywhere on the patio of the other location, which is kind of back by the Argus building on campus. So Argus Farm Shop is definitely a place that you need to check out. Helps really solidify the neighborhood feel that makes Ann Arbor great. So understand what they have to offer. It's a fantastic little place. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment. But before we do, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Be smart about it. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, a couple interesting things about USC, whether I look at the numbers. The first thing is a Michigan thing, by the way. Michigan's 57th in... I can't remember that. That's not I have the tweet. Let's look at what I wrote. I thought, like, I'm doing this off the top of my head, and I'm not doing it well. Yeah, 57th nationally in passing yards per play through week 6. Last year, Michigan was dead last in that. They're doing better. Obviously, you want to see a higher, points per play than what happened this last week. Michigan 7.2 yards per play compared to Wisconsin's 4.4, but still it's only a 2-possession game. Not great. But I think that that's moving in the right spot. Now, passing wise, what's going to be interesting? USC's got those 2 pass rushers. Don't love coming off of a game where both tackles really struggled. But the only time we've really seen that. Now, they're going to be going up against 2 really good pass rushers, USC. Leading the country in sacks, or what was going into this last week. So that's going to be a challenge for the offensive line. But the converse of this is interesting, because USC is 111th in pass defense. They're giving up 250 yards a game. Well, wouldn't you know it? That's where that's about what Bryce Underwood's kind of averaged in not every game, 3 of the 5 games. He's had 2 games in the 100, right? Nebraska, #1 pass defense in the country. Didn't kill it there, and also same at Oklahoma. But you kind of feel like they're getting some things going. Now, USC is rated much higher on the run defense scale, but if you watch that USC at Illinois game, Illinois had no problems running the ball against them. So it will be interesting. But this might be the type of game where you pass to run, I feel. Now, this is going to be the biggest challenge thus far for Michigan on the other side of the ball. And I don't want to say it isn't close, because it will be. It can and will be close in terms of what is USC compared to a John Mateer-led Oklahoma. But USC, #1 in SP Plus offense. Jaden Mayava is tops of every Heisman Trophy, every quarterback ranking, all that stuff, right? They have been phenomenal. Mekhi Lemon is someone to contend with in the secondary. But this is where, when you look at what Michigan has, the secondary and the coverage looked a heck of a lot better against Wisconsin for the most part. Rod Moore's return, huge. I mentioned this on Saturday on the drive home. Got chills when he got that pick. But Zeke Berry played out of his mind. So to be back closer to full strength, assuming nothing happens in practice, right? That's a good place to be, because not only are you in a situation unlike at Oklahoma, Zeke Berry gets hurt, you're bringing in a Jaden Sanders who only got some garbage time play against New Mexico and didn't look that good in it. So now he's gotten the time on task. He looked great against Central Michigan. He looked great against Nebraska. So now it's if you're going into your bench a little bit, right? Hey, Zeke, we got to get you out for a play. Jair, we got to get you out play. Or, heaven forbid, one of them gets injured or something like that. You know that you can go next to Jaden Sanders, next to Elijah Dotson, and you can feel good about it. Caleb Anderson finally returns, or made his Michigan debut this weekend, so they're in a much better spot to be able to contend with this pass defense. It couldn't come a moment too soon. And what will be interesting to see is this is probably going to be the most ferocious front seven. I think when I say probably, definitely the most ferocious front seven that USC has seen. The last part that I have to mention, Michigan's going to try to negate the typical time zone difference by getting out there on Thursday night to Los Angeles. I think that's really smart. And I think that, if getting to kind of acclimate to Pacific time zone, get that flight behind you a bit, that can certainly help. Right? Because you don't want to end up in the situation like Penn State was against UCLA. You don't want to end up in the situation like Michigan was last year against Washington. So I think that they've got a lot going for them. I'm going to have a hard time picking Michigan because I'm still kind of in believe it when I see it. That's not even the right way to say it. I'm kind of in this. It feels so inconsistent. They're leaving too many points out there on the field. Every game is its own thing, and they're finding ways to win, which is the most important thing. But when you play with fire, eventually you get burned. So I'm not sure yet how I feel about this. And I don't think that I'm going to feel like particularly good about the game until the game. And we actually see Michigan doing the things it needs to do in order to actually win the game. But I like the direction they're heading in. The reevaluations of the rosters, the not just automatically giving injured guys their starting job back as other players have played really well in their stead. Getting to LA early, having health along the position groups that would be tested the most by this particular team. All of that's working in Michigan's favor. And then Marlon Klein said something today when asked about Washington. He's like, that was a different team. Like that, and we're talking about Michigan, not about like Washington versus USC. He's like, that was a different Michigan team. I don't feel that way, the way I felt about last year's team in the moment as I do about this year's team right now. Huge. Michigan was 4-1 before it headed out to Washington. Be 4-1 before heading out to USC. So get to 5-1. That feels a lot different and a lot better. So we'll see how that goes. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back with the mailbag on Tuesday. Then we'll do Jack Tuttle on Wednesday, Connor Stallions on Thursday, and then preview up in the air whether we have a guest or not, because we're still trying to get some of the people who said they'd come on the show to come on the show. So anyway, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon. Peace.